Here we go. Okay, I thank you all for being here, Building and Planning, Tuesday, January 30th. Hi, Bob.
Sorry, I had to,
No, you're fine.
I had a contractor, I had to go meet.
Call the meeting to order at 1:01 p.m. Item B is approval of agenda. Did everyone review the agenda? Do we have any changes or supplements or anything to as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we get a motion to approve?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Catherine. Jean, your vote?
Yes.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Ms. Catherine?
Yes.
Mr. Black?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Okay. Item C is for public comment. If anyone from public has anything that wish to be heard. See Dave on there.
I think he's the
Yeah.
phone number.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Approval of the minutes from December 26th. Did everyone review them? And if we did we see any changes or adjustments that need to be made to the minutes as presented?
No, they look good. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Catherine?
Yes.
Mr. Parks?
Yes.
Really? Mr. Black?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Master plan?
Okay, so not a lot of change in status. We are in the flood plan review, as I should say. But just so you realize how many times these get looked at, I included in your packet the architectural review, the dates that it was reviewed, the structural review. So you can see that, they are, this is actually when they're reviewing the drawings. And so, it's a substantial amount of times that they have worked on it. And so anyway, so it's got each of the trades down to life safety, electrical and all of that. I included that just in case you're wondering, what does the state really do? Well, they sit here and they log in and they record the plans and it gives all the dates and that they do it. And all that data is available to anybody who wants to bother to look it up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's pretty, very
Yeah.
detailed.
Yeah, it is. I like it.
Yeah, so so I thought, well, that wouldn't hurt to, so that you see that they are doing their job. Anyway, and so that's kind of where we're at. We're, hopefully it's gonna kick out in a couple of weeks more, 2, 3, 4 weeks. We don't know if that'll be approved or with comments or whether that will be, okay, there's one more round of corrections. We won't know until it actually kicks out. Several, as I commented here, a couple of the trades have already signed off on the project, so. So the mechanical, which is heating and air conditioning and all of that, it was approved back on July 13 of 23. So, and I think there was one other, if I remember right. But so a couple of the six trades that have to look at it have signed off, and then the other ones they're just getting down to the small details.
So Bob, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
We were anticipating, I guess probably best case scenario was getting close to approval by the third plan review. And so we're in fourth. I just wonder what.
Well, we may be approved on fourth plan review.
Okay.
In other words.
Was it our architect? Was it the state give our plans particularly stringent review? I mean, how come it's still in review?
Well, I think as we discussed this when we first were going to put it into review, that it's 18 to 24 months for a review process. With OSHPD for a set of plans this large, it takes between 18 months and 2 years to get them approved. And these were, first submitted back in 9/14 of 22. And so we are past the 18-month line, but we're not to the 2 years yet.
Is the same person doing the administration building that's doing the permitting for that?
No, different architect. Different review process.
Although I'm beginning to wonder if it's county.
That's our wonderful Kern County Building Department. And they both have their challenges, shall we say.
I've got some questions on the master plan, but it sort of ties into your RFP.
Okay,
If I can, I'll refer back to that. Is that okay?
sure, fine by me. Anyway, so that's where we're at on master plan, you know, and we still haven't heard a word from FEMA. You know, and so it's not on the agenda, but it's part of the master plan. You know, when we did the 4D sampling, we got approved for our grant from HCI that covers almost all of it. Because it was about 203,000 and they approved us for 180,000.
Great.
And Tim, I think, just signed the paperwork.
Yeah.
So that they're gonna send us that check.
Right.
So we get that back. And I'm in process, I'm down to the last page of the application of applying again to hopefully cover a portion of our 9.8 million on the master project.
That was the non-FEMA covered.
The non-FEMA covered costs. They're allowing me to apply for a grant from HCI to hopefully cover a portion of that. And they're just waiting for me to get through the 18 pages of application.
I asked,
Page 18.
I asked Bob about that.
Oh, for it was terrible.
Is that contingent on us getting the FEMA grant?
No,
They-
no,
do they
no,
run- They don't run together. They have nothing to do with each other.
nothing to do with each other.
So the
So,
fact it only covers what FEMA doesn't cover,
right,
they're still gonna give us the grant.
possibly, where we're applying.
Well, I mean,
If we're acceptable,
if we're
if we're
accepted,
successful, yeah.
FEMA doesn't have.
Yeah, we would still get the money from HCI. Yes.
How much is that grant? Do we,
Well, it's an
Unknown
unspecified
disclosed.
amount. They
Okay.
have X amount of dollars set aside to help rural hospitals. And I think I've told you before, this is funds that came out of the taxes on vaping products.
wow.
Yeah.
Should be a good chunk then if.
It's substantial, yes. So
Maybe it's vaping. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, maybe we should start vaping.
At least buying it.
Into that project. Yep. All right, so.
Yeah, the big question too is, it's again, because it's obviously, it's an onerous process as
Yeah.
was FEMA as to how many other hospitals apply for that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's really a big determining
Yeah,
factor.
and they did a training one day a couple of months ago, and they started getting a flurry of activities from or other rural hospitals also requesting funds for this particular grant, which we were already at that time approved for our first request. So, all right, so on the new administration building, the plans are approved. I have the check in hand and I am picking up the permit card and the approved plans tomorrow. And it
What
is
check?
the planner, the permit fees, 2,400 and.
Oh, our check to them.
Our check to the county.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I can't pick them up without handing them a $2,500 check. Then they'll hand me the approved plans and permit card.
Now,
So-
since we're in planning, when do we plan on moving there?
As soon as the construction gets done, which I'm getting. to.
That's, could be 5 years. Can we move
Or,
in?
you know, or I could move my retirement off.
Could
We could
move
put
in
it
before it's
further out.
done?
Yeah, no, here's where we're at. Okay, so the project is out to bid. The bids are due the 6th of February, which is next Tuesday. I have 3 general contractors that appear to be bidding. The job walk, all 3 contractors showed up. One's out of Tehachapi. I'm very impressed with him. All of them have sent me long lists of questions. So they email me questions and I respond. And when I respond to all 3 contractors that I know of that are bidding, so that everybody gets the same information and the same answers. And it's been about 30 questions scattered between all 3 GCs. All mostly valid. I'm sorry, I didn't put my phone on silent.
When this is written normal construction, it's got nothing to do with surgery or doctor's offices or anything.
No, this is a standalone project with the county of Kern and their inspectors. So anyway, we should have the bids next week. We review them. It will come here for a vote to who to go with at the next building and plan. I mean, we had a meeting sooner, we could, you know, it would only be if you wanted to put it on the hospital board meeting.
So once you get that, can we get that information out to the board members so they have a
Absolutely.
chance to review that before that next meeting?
Sure,
Can we just schedule it for our board meeting?
I would
We
think
can put it
so.
on the agenda, but if
Don't
the,
get enough time to
if the
review it.
bids are due on the sixth, our board meeting's on the eighth, so. we
Oh,
have to do
okay,
it in
that would be
December
cutting.
agenda, But we certainly could.
It's cutting it close.
So you won't have the information available to
It won't go
post?
out in the packet, it would come out as a separate handout.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, unfortunately, if I would have given them less time, I don't think we would have got as accurate a bidding because literally I had 10 questions that came in late yesterday afternoon and I stayed here late to answer them and get them right back.
Okay.
So it's still, you
We
know,
could
it's,
put it on the agenda, just in the event that you have time to review everything. If you don't, we could certainly defer it to building and planning towards the end of the month if you need more time.
Do that.
yeah, let's give it a shot because I would love to get the approval to proceed
Yeah, get moving.
more timely than,
Is this
Waiting.
one that we require a performance bond? Because a lot of contractors don't like to deal with performance bonds.
yeah, no, we are required to have performance bonds and they have to bond 100% of the project, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, one of the contractors may bow out because I'm not sure that they can do the bonding. There's one company, they live in LA, but they do work in Ridgecrest. And I'm not sure if they're gonna make it. The other one is out of Tehachapi and one that seems really competent. And then, of course, our good friends JTS, it's been bidding all of our work, is also bidding.
Now, this is just for the administration building?
This is the administration building B, suites B and C.
Just the two suites, yeah. The other ones we did. we did
There's no
ourselves.
local contractors, it's such a simple thing.
Nobody can bond and perform the stuff that's we're required to do.
Okay, we ultimately pay for the bond, right?
I'm sure that the cost of the bond
Because
is
of the
included.
bond's built in, so
Yes,
are they aware of that? Because when they come to me, they say, oh, it's not worth it, I gotta pay this for the performance bond and all that, they get confused.
I will guarantee you that the cost of those bonds are included in their price to us. Because obviously they don't have to put up the whole money and it doesn't cost them, if it's $250,000, it doesn't cost them $250,000 for the bond. They put up a bond and it's with their bonding company and the cost of that, it would be
Cost of
included
it's
in their price.
33%. What's the cost of the job?
I am not even gonna hazard a guess at this point.
Just roughly, like between 200 and 800.
Somewhere in between. I would actually agree with that statement, somewhere between
But
200.
are you saying too, could be other reasons why they're not able to do the bonding?
Yes,
Okay, so it may not be financial reasons, it may be
Yeah.
something with the company or an employee or who knows
I
what.
have a friend who is a general
Wow.
contractor here. I actually have one or two.
One or two,
I know,
perfect.
it's,
I'm excited.
I'm not easy to be friends with. And he's a general contractor. He mainly works in Tehachapi because there's very little work in this valley. And I've talked to him about it and he would love to do our work, but when I showed him what the requirements are that we have to do for the bonding, he goes, I'm not up to that level yet of being able to bond to that dollar.
Okay.
So, anyway,
Thank you.
Normally it's bad, as a rule, it's bad credit.
yeah, and I have no idea about his finances and his business. Anyway, emergency generator. So we should be moving forward shortly with the administration building. We are continuing to work in Suite D right now currently. And
But we're making plans to move once it's done, right? I mean,
once Suite B is done, we can move accounting and billing because they're in A and B.
are they making plans at all?
Well, we've been talking with them, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're planning on moving, but they need to move together and we need both A and B done. And anyway, and then Suite C is medical records here. And then Suite D is education, which is in this building. And then the last suite, we're just leaving as a meeting room for now until we decide if we have the money to build out the human resources there as a separate project. So we don't need to move HR right now, but it would be nice to put them on our own building.
Education is gonna love to go down there.
because there's no skunks underneath it.
Yes. We caught one of the two skunks night before last. And
Oh, really?
when the trap is set out here for the other one.
Yeah.
If you kind of go back there by the bathroom, you can smell them.
So another reason for moving HR is to get out of that rent.
Yes.
So we're not paying rent on a building when we've got
Right.
space for it.
And that's the reason we want to proceed, but we also wanted to start with just getting PNC done because of the amount of money is expected to, because it has to go prevailing wage and all of that. But
It's so cheap, $800 a month.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It adds up.
So
It's just like the
emergency
building
generator.
across the street that we're
Yeah.
paying.
I'm sorry, my
5,000.
assistant's mom is in the hospital and she said, call me, it's urgent, but I'm setting in a meeting, we'll call. So got some major issues going on. Okay, sorry.
Emergency generator.
Emergency generator, we are, actually, we have a picture of what it looks like. How do I navigate to the picture?
I didn't see X-ray.
That's not those. It's those are the chiller. That's the chiller. Or
I
anyway,
had it up here.
okay. Well, we had a picture to show.
Pull up the photos thing, Heidi, next to Zoom on the very bottom, maybe. Is it in that?
Yes.
I don't know what I'm looking for.
So
A picture of the new generator.
I had all of the pictures opened up, but it's in there.
It's not there.
It is. If you open one of the pictures, I think you can scroll backwards. Yep, no, it's right there.
Can we follow this line backwards?
Yeah.
No, go the other way.
So those are the shots of the inside of our
There you go.
chiller. There it is.
Sorry.
So there is our new emergency generator.
That
There is the
orange
new
thing?
enclosure, that orange thing. That is Caterpillar yellow, they call it. So it's huge. It's the size of a semi truck and half a trailer. And then the enclosure, you can see in front of our central plant. It's been painted the same color, it all blends in. And of course, it's done, the concrete's poured, the gravel's down, the fence is back in. And so we are now at a point where hopefully in the next couple of weeks, the electricians are going to pull the wire. The painters are finishing up today on some of the conduit runs and stuff over the other side of the campus. And then it's kind of a wait for the equipment, the other equipment to arrive, the switches, transfer switches and the switch gear and that sort of thing. Which won't, some of it comes in the end of February, some comes in May, some comes in middle of the summer, some don't even come till October. So we'll be coming to a standstill here in another 4 weeks.
So that machine, that device goes inside that little building?
No, it stays right where it's at.
Okay.
The building will hold 5 transfer switches and 4 pieces of switchgear.
Okay.
Is that efficient enough we could sell power to Edison?
I don't want Edison to know. There's
You know,
steel.
Edison gets. Yeah, it's big enough to run Mountain Mesa. Edison, they get all uptight when they talk about you generating power and can it be done safely with their systems and stuff. So, you know, they get assured that when this starts and transfers, we separate ourselves from Edison so that we are strictly on the generator and do not backfeed. So that's what the transfer switches do. So anyway, so it's looking good. It's coming along, but unfortunately, due to the supply and demand of equipment, we're going to come to a slow screeching halt here in about 4 weeks.
So there was discussion last time we met about the contractor possibly reimbursing us, or at least us investigating the contract on if.
Yes, I investigated what we did in the contract because of the big unknown. In fact, even on the boiler project, there's an issue related to equipment arrival that I'll explain when I get to that. Because of knowing that this switchgear is way out there, the contract for the liquidated damages states that if they are not done 4 weeks after the last piece of equipment arrives, then we go into liquidated damages.
equipment that we have control of or they have?
Well, it was both, but all of my equipment's gonna arrive much sooner. Only because I ordered it sooner. They couldn't order it until we'd signed a contract with them. And then once the engineers approved the submittals, then they ordered the equipment. So that's why some of theirs is spread out so far. But the contract is written that if they are not done 4 weeks after the
So
arrival.
we have no
of the last
leverage
piece,
because of this delay.
Not unless they go beyond the 4 weeks of the last piece of equipment.
Could the average contractor, if they have their own moment, have gotten it sooner?
No. I talked with some people that were here a few weeks ago related to some other projects, and they are on some projects that are also requiring square D equipment, and theirs is estimated to arrive in 2 years. And these are big projects for like PG&E. So
So-
PG&E does not have the leverage to get it any faster.
So the specifications for this device that is gonna be built by Square D. I mean, it's all lined out. Can't we put that out to bid and across the nation or across the world and say, can somebody build us something to this specification faster?
Okay, that process could be done. The problem is let's just say that, there's only 3 or 4 manufacturers of this kind of computer. So you could approach each of them and they could give you a timeline of when they could have supplied. If we'd have done it way back when the contractor was first putting together his submittals, I don't know that would accelerate anything, but you could have done that. And then let's just say Lithonia or somebody came in and says, well, we can do it in 6 months instead of 8 months. But then you have to have them put together the submittals. The submittals have to go to the electrical engineer. The electrical engineer has to verify that it meets all the criteria that it has to be HCI and shaker tabled and all this because it's life safety. So it's got to be earthquake tested and a whole lot of things. And so then by the time you've got placed the order with them, you probably haven't saved any more time because they're all about in the same boat. And that is nobody's stocking this stuff because of the cost of the materials and the labor and just the stuff that's happened since COVID first started. I wish there was a better answer, but that's the problem.
Bob, one more question if I could.
Yeah.
It's not in any way, shape or form tied to the administration building. The time.
Absolutely not.
Maybe we can run a wire down to the administrative building.
Really, we have the power of the administration building from here. Okay, so that's where we're at on the generator. Boiler 2 replacement, they are demolishing the old boiler. They worked on it all day today. They left just a few minutes ago. They'll finish it probably tomorrow. It's going, I think, a little slower than expected. They're trying to cut it apart into pieces versus move it out whole. And if it would have been me, I'd have moved it out whole, but you also have to have the proper trailer that can handle the weight that will drop down really low and be able to winch the thing onto the trailer. They probably don't have that particular type of trailer, so they are cutting it into pieces and throwing it into their heavy duty trailer. And so they got about half done today.
There was no issue with insulation.
No, the insulation was all fiberglass.
Okay, good.
It wasn't old enough to be concerned about asbestos.
Yeah.
Can I show them those other pictures that we have?
Yeah,
That's,
that's not yet. That's-
yeah. Well,
That's
that's
a chiller.
Yeah, well, the chiller's not actually on here, but if you want to show those other pictures. So that was, remember, I showed you this picture back when we decided to epoxy our chiller, which is now done. That's what it looked like before. And so you have, that's the end plate, they call it, where the tubes go through.
There's a better picture of that one.
And then this, that's a straight on shot of the same. And then scroll to the next one. So then there's curved bells that fit over those. And so this is the divided one where the water comes in, goes through the tubes, back through the tubes and back out. And then the next picture, this is what it looks like now
The epoxy
with
coating.
the epoxy coating done. And then the next picture is the same end bell epoxy coated. So that gives you an idea of what we did on that.
And so the likelihood that would happen again with this on here is
Is very low and would take a lot longer. This is literally some of the calcification that was built up inside of that end bell.
I was gonna start snacking on this.
Be a little juice. Yeah. All right, so the patient monitoring equipment replacement is in my report, is that is closed in compliance with OSHPD. So it is done. I think Mark has a meeting with the Pacuda Densi guys for a follow-up, I think.
Yeah, he's coming out next Tuesday.
Yeah, so, but that project is done, as far from my standpoint, is closed in compliance with OSHPD, and to my knowledge is all functioning fine. Yeah. And then the surgery decontam hand wash sink is moving slowly. All the components are here, but we had a couple of surgeries and procedures. So in prepping for those and following up after those, surgery basically asked us to cease and desist for a couple of weeks. So we're going to get started back on that. We're pouring the concrete back in. We were going to pour it today, but my project guy is homesick. So probably pour it Thursday for the concrete in the floor, and then we'll lay the tile, and then we got to frame a wall, and then we got to redo the plumbing. It's just a slow moving project that we have to work around their schedule when they have people coming in to do sterilizing and whatnot. The NPC seismic upgrade is in OSHPD's hands for my report, waiting for input back from them. So what we did is we submitted what we feel is going to need to be done from the presentation that Michael gave to you a while back. And we're just waiting to hear from HCI OSHPD if that is acceptable or they want more or what. So it's and since there was a deadline of January 1st for the entire state to submit their plans, I have a feeling that the seismic division is probably a little bit inundated.
I would think so.
So my expectation is it will take a while to get a response back on that. But that work doesn't even have to be done till years down the road. So, you know, we're in good shape on that one. Okay, and then the Assembly Bill Pin 75 notice, everything is done, everything is approved. All I was going to say is that we do annually have to resend that notification out. And if anything changes on any of our buildings, we have to change the little posting. And then every year we have to notify, that's about 8 different entities of the state, including the board here, of the status of our buildings. So that's.
Last meeting was one group that you hadn't notified yet. Did that?
I got that. I got that through. That was the state EMS. No. What is it? That's over emergencies. Office of Emergency. Oh, yes. Office of Emergency Services. They did not post an email address where I could send anything. So I had to put in a request through the request systems, and they got back to me and says, this is where you send it. And I sent it to them. And so we're in compliance with everybody being notified of the status of our buildings. And that's an annual update that I have to do.
That was the state.
Yeah. Calaveras, yeah. Dietary stove installation. I've been working for about a week and a half, pulling together information and data. In fact, I had questions from the architect again this morning, from the electrical engineer. They're working on the plans, and hopefully we'll have those ready to go to OSHPD here in a few weeks. Hopefully by the time we have our next meeting, the plans will be ready to submit for putting the stove in. It's a
Number 77 to acute care. Number 77 to acute care.
it's just the usual process. Gather all the data and everything on the plans. They'll go in for plan review, and it'll probably kick back for one round of corrections, would be my guess. The only concern, I don't know if I told you this, there's only one concern from the engineers that has to do with we're taking out a stove, 6-burner stove, and a 2-pot steam kettle system. And the steam pot kettle system falls in a different category than the additional 4 burners of stove. So there is some concern that OSHPD plan reviewers might say, well, now we need to evaluate the flows in the entire hood, and we might have to increase the size of the exhaust fan on the hood. that was not included in the price from the architect and engineers because I'm hoping it doesn't go there. I'm hoping they go, it's because as far as BTUs to BTUs, the change out is the same. And the electrical requirements are identically the same. We're using the same wire, the same breakers, the same everything. Because it's it's a 100 amp breaker that serves the existing stove, and it's a 50 amp breaker of each of these 480 that does the steam kettles. And the new stove is a 6 and 4, so it's literally 2 stoves bolted together, and it requires a 100 amp breaker for the 6 burner and a 50 amp breaker for the 4 burner. So electrically, we should be fine. And we should be able to just disconnect the whips and reconnect the whips and be good to go. It has more to do with anchorage and a concern about, you know, the heat generation going up into the hood. So that's what we've been trying to work through. All right, and that I believe is it. Questions?
Any questions, Bob? I know you want to jump there.
Generation, if it's up to date and it could get hotter for the same BTUs. So is that what you're saying?
Is that global warming coming in?
Kitchen warming.
No more
Gee,
questions.
No,
I know you wanted to
BTUs
wrap
or
back
BTUs.
around. You wanted to wrap back around on the master plan with the RFP? Did you?
Well, okay,
Now we're direct-
okay, he's gonna be discussing that right now, right?
Okay,
So our
As we
next,
go along, I want it.
you got it. Sir,
I was just gonna say, yeah, we're done with E unless you have any
yes,
questions.
we're done with E and on to.
Yeah.
RFP.
So on the RFP, as you remember, Ross had quite a few areas that he commented on. I marked up my RFP. And what I have done is I have included it and I have tried to mark it up in a way that you can see every change. So if you want to compare it, or if you've already compared it to the commented ones that you commented to me, I believe I've addressed
Everything
every
that's on your
single
file,
one.
Correct.
Yes.
I have a new comment.
Okay.
There, under the scope of work on the first interior page, 16 in our packet.
Oh, I didn't print the RFP.
I got it.
Yeah, I'm with him. So-
Completed by 23.
Yeah, looks like the completion date is already passed, so.
Oh, well, we missed that. Both of us missed
So
that.
just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay,
Put
so-
the right date in there.
Under scope, yeah, page 16, scope of work.
Okay. It's expected to be start in 2024 and last. 4 years.
And so we can. Yeah.
Just
Okay,
figured it was a typo.
it probably was. I've been working on a lot of stuff.
Or in 20.
I literally spent half of this morning trying to answer questions to Quinn Caterpillar related to other managers of operations and other hospitals with some questions related to generators. I get hit up with a lot of questions about stuff. Okay. Other than that, are we good?
Gene, do you have questions?
Okay, let's see. Hospital and federal funds. It says right there,
Which
they
page you
expect to use it. We've got nothing but hope for the federal funds.
Yes.
We've got. We got nothing but hope. What we do have is what we've got. Cash. What we got cash is borrowed money, and we're not in really good financial shape. How can we go forward and ask these contractors to spend all their money bidding on something that can never happen?
Well, here's my this is my response. Where I am at is obviously we don't want to go out to bid until our plans are approved because we don't want change orders and that sort of thing. So until we have approved plans. Now, as far as going out to bid, contractors bid projects fairly often that don't end up coming to fruition, or they are not the ones chosen. So the hours spent is the gamble of every general contractor that they bid on projects, and they know they're not going to get 100% of the projects. They're probably going to be lucky to get 30% of the projects they bid on, because you're bidding against other GCs. So I'm not concerned about the time it takes them to bid the project, because that is their business. And
But they're not used to dealing with somebody that can't perform. can we perform?
We may be able to perform. How about that?
Well, yeah, the only,
Well, so
There's no way.
let me finish. Hopefully by the time we have approved plans, we will know whether we have FEMA. If we find out that we don't have FEMA, we might, as a group here, make a decision to not proceed. Or we might make a decision to proceed because we're doing it in phases. The challenge is that I think you know, and we all know that we probably cannot pay for this entire project ourselves. So, let's just say we get FEMA. And let's say we get approved plans and we put it out to bid. And it's expected to be, and I'm not trying to put any numbers out there because I don't want any contractors to know what the expectation of the cost of this project is. But it's going to be X amount of minute. This is what we had professionally costed. It's this amount of money. And our FEMA plus us is based upon this amount of money. So if it comes in at that, then I think, it's a relatively good gamble that we would probably choose to proceed. If it comes in the way some of these projects have come in at double the cost of what we have had professionally costed by a professional company that had no idea what was going to happen from 2 years ago, two and a half years ago, I personally would recommend we don't proceed. My object is not to run the hospital broke. And my object is to hopefully get us seismically compliant to be going good past 2030. But if it turns out to be financially not possible, then we'll be right along with a bunch of the other hospitals in this state that say we can't do it.
Yeah.
And even if we got FEMA, but it came in at double the cost, we can't proceed because we can't come up with another, 10 or $15 million. That's where I'm at.
well, we don't need to put any more money, especially substantial money, into something we can't finish. That 9 stages is sort of a joke, because once you start the first one, you can't stop.
Well, not really, not in complete everything we want to get completed. I mean, going through first 3 phases and then calling it stop, it doesn't give us what we want. And I discussed this with Tim and I discussed this with Dave, our CFO. Let's just say that the project comes in, we don't get the FEMA money and we decide not to proceed with the project. We do have some monies set aside for construction that we could pick and choose and say, well, instead of that, maybe let's do this, which will increase the abilities hospital to provide patient care or give us another service that can make money, but not even address the seismic. I mean, those are options that we could go down the road if this thing turns out to take a nosedive on us and is not feasibly possible. I'm just trying to be really honest with, because I'm not going to lay odds, but the chance of this sailing through and coming through at the budget that we have budgeted and the FEMA money's coming in and everything is a bit of a long shot. I agree with Gene on that. But it's our only shot as far as becoming seismically
If
compliant.
we keep going down the way we're going, Tim is going to come up and say, well, the board's got me where I'm at. Community, give me the money, or we're gonna close the hospital. I can see that coming down the road.
Well, I don't think.
We're not there yet.
No,
That could happen,
we're not
but
even
there yet.
close to that because even our governor has said, we're not going to close hospitals that cannot meet the 2030 deadline. They've made that statement as our government. Because they can't afford, the state of California cannot afford to close 20% of the hospitals in the state of California. Because that's probably the percentage that is not going to be able to be compliant by 2030. I mean, just look at, Kern Medical by itself. They don't even have a plan in place. And so there's absolutely no way they can do that massive of a construction project between now and 2030. So they're not going to be compliant. Adventist Health is not going to be compliant. Memorial is probably not going to be compliant. So, they're not going to come in here and close all the hospitals in Kern County. It's not going to happen. They're going to move the deadline out and they're going to push it out and they're going to do something because the state cannot afford to lose that kind of a volume of hospital. It's not going to just be us and 3 others that are out here in the boondocks. It's major hospitals that can't do it either. So I would say offhand that 50-50 shot whether this thing proceeds. And that's if we get really lucky and we get the FEMA and the cost of constructions come down so that our budget is good. And I'm not laying high odds on that.
I'd still like to get Scott's opinion on whether putting this out is illegal, because we don't have control. It don't look like, don't look like we can do it. I hope we can find it somewhere open, falls out of the sky, something happens. But legally, if we ask those contractors, and you say that well, they do it all the time, they don't do it for somebody that can't perform. I mean,
Well, it's not like they're gonna sue us, but
Well,
I
well, I
will
don't know
say
about
this. I will say this. I suggest we do not send this RFP out until we know that we have approved plans and that looks like we're gonna get the FEMA money. At that point is, we still got to go through the bidding process
or
and
the,
find out if we're on budget or not, which is another hurdle. But I would think that we would want to look for a construction manager about the time that the project is out to bid.
could you do sort of a soft inquiry to these contractors and say, this is what would,
Well, we've had several contractors reach out to us and said that they are interested in bidding our project. I have a list on my computer of people that have shown interest in doing this work for us. It's three or
Can't
four.
have too much of a soft conversation with them because you're gonna violate
Yeah.
the
Right.
rules.
Yeah, I can't, it's not like I can send them a set of plans and say, hey, could you look at this? I mean, that breaks all of
Well,
it.
and then we're placing hope in their ballpark.
Right.
That may not come.
I mean, if we were not a public hospital, if we were, let's just say, owned by Adventist Health, you can do things differently. We could partner with a GC. I've done that on some large projects where we partnered with the GC and with the architectural firm, and we developed the project together. And then the GC is guaranteed the project, but they give an estimate based upon, this is a not to exceed price based, so you're not going in there where you're just going to get creamed on the price after the fact. But we can't do that as a public hospital. You can do it as a private hospital.
Is this Scott's draft? Did Scott approve this?
That Scott sent me that.
Scott sent you the draft that you worked from the CC.
Yes. He sent me a draft. I believe it probably came from Tehachapi Hospital. I then modified it to fit this hospital. Then we reviewed it and I made those corrections. So yes, this came from Scott.
So I certainly agree with where you are on timing. I don't think it'd be prudent to go out until we know we've got the funding.
Yes.
It'd be good in the interest of time, because this is gonna take, probably 3 months or so to get bids back and
Oh, yeah.
process it and evaluate it, and maybe longer.
Yes.
So it'd be nice to be able to get, once we have the plans in hand, so that the proposers know what exactly they're expected to build. And if we're relatively sure we're gonna get the FEMA funding, but it's still a month or two out, then begin this process.
Right.
So that we're not waiting for everything sequentially to happen and saving a little bit of time that way.
And the hope is,
So I hopefully we'll be able to proceed in some manner like that.
as Bob and I've talked to, the longer this gets delayed, the likelihood that we start seeing some reduction in supply costs and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's coming through.
Might happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
May help.
Depending on November.
Inflation rate seems to be leveling out, and maybe they'll start settling things down a little bit.
Most large projects I've been involved in, when the bidding is done and you get prices, say on your structural steel. Not that we have a lot of structural steel here, but structural steel prices are usually good for 30 days. If you do not sign that contract in less than 30 days, there's no guarantee because the volatility
It goes up so much.
goes up and down so radically.
Truck still is cheap.
I've got a few more comments on the wording.
Okay.
On page 17, under general overview. This general overview, KVHD is seeking a vendor 2, and then we list all the things they want them to do. It's just worded wrong.
Okay.
The first
Oh,
bullet
right.
point is the construction manager will, it just needs to be massaged. a little
Yeah,
bit.
and
Each one should be a
I
sentence.
think I massaged that some, but it needs more work.
Okay, and then down at the bottom of that page, I think there's just a typo or something. That first sentence in that last bullet point doesn't read well.
Okay,
Farm commissioning, yeah.
yeah, I'll go through it again.
Do you have an approximate cost in mind about what this would add to our project?
That what now? Approximate cost
That would be added to the project. What's
For-
gonna be,
for
what
a-
roughly would be the
for a project manager.
It looks like a lot of work for 4 years.
I'm trying to remember, I believe I have budgeted 1.6 million
That's all.
just for that person. For 4 years,
That fun.
person or firm,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, there'd be more than one person involved.
Maybe not, because we have choices. We could actually hire a person working for us or dedicated to us who does this. Tehachapi hired a firm, and so they ended up with several people.
We don't want to do what
but-
they did.
But Scott will tell you that did not go well and it cost them dearly. So, those are all. When this goes out to bid, because we will get probably both. We will, I know of one person who is interested in doing, our project. I know of another person I was going to contact and see whether she would be interested in doing our project. And then we have other firms, but I was going to approach Scott because I have never gone out with an RFP for construction management in 40 years, because I have always been the construction manager for 40 years. I think this project is big enough, we probably need an additional person. Plus, if it takes us a year to get started and it takes us 4 to 5 years, I'm going to be almost as old as Gene by the time it's over.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
Well, we can't use the same project manager that we're using for the little building down here.
We don't have a project manager for that. That's this one.
okay, page 19. my next
Yes,
comment.
all right, next comment, page 19.
The first set of bullets, explanation of your method to keep project on budget, da, da, da. The last little sub bullet there, how your firm will administer GMP from the pre-construction to close out. Now, I don't know what GMP is and it's not
Okay.
defined.
That needs to be changed. That got missed.
Okay.
Because what that is that would be them managing the actual budget of the project.
Okay.
And whereas in Tehachapi, they supposedly were involved with actually handling the finances of
Oh,
the
yeah.
project.
We don't want them doing.
We don't want that, them doing that, no. That will be handled, by hospital personnel in
Okay.
conjunction with a
But I
consultant.
just wanted you to fix that.
Yes.
Okay.
I made a note to do that.
All right. Okay, the next one on page 20. Under submissions, the last bullet. All proposals were made valid for a minimum period of 120 days subsequent to the RFP closing date. Can we make that longer? Can we make them 180 or 365? Depending on when we put this out,
Sure,
so that we've got some latitude on.
yeah, absolutely. I'm open to anything
Okay.
on this, I'm just trying to make sure I make enough notes that I can go in and make those
Because
changes.
we're still up in the air on the FEMA.
Sure.
Funding, we may want to make that a longer period of time. So we can go ahead and put the thing out, get it processed, but
Right,
not hire them until.
Yeah.
We've got money to do it.
absolutely.
Shouldn't we look at our planning without it's a hope, and it'd be awesome if it was 10 times that amount. But we need to be realistic. What we've got's what we've got.
Yes.
What we hope to get.
Well, that's
It would be
why
awesome.
we're not gonna proceed until we know whether we
Well,
have.
but everything, all the finance, everything's got that FEMA money in there, like it.
Well, that's
Probably gonna
that's
happen.
plan A, and it's
Yes.
still a viable option.
Yes, because we're being told that we probably have it. Now, if we don't get it, more than likely, the recommendation is gonna be not to proceed.
Or something.
Is
Yeah.
there-
or something.
Can we
There's
get
To proceed with a
There's
different plan.
Yeah.
Can we get anything from them saying, I know you see it, maybe you talk to them. Can we get anything verifying what you're saying, that we're probably gonna get it? I mean, is there
It
something?
looks like that on their website. You
Let's
read the
look at the
language
website.
on that website, you go, This is a done deal.
All the projects that are in that pool
It's
are
what,
within a study.
The amount of funds allocated for the brick funding for 2022 are equal to or exceed the amount of requests that are still in the fund.
yeah, okay.
So if we get to 21 million and it costs twice as much money and there's
We'll,
no.
we'll cross that bridge when we get to
Okay.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have that.
Well, then,
Is there a way to scale it down to fit more what we've got?
no, well, not without redrawing plans and another 18 months in plan review.
That's a whole what if.
That's a big
Let's-
what
Let's
if.
cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, we're gonna get it, and knock on wood, the project comes in on budget. That's all,
Okay,
that's,
page 21.
yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't turn my phone off either.
Notice in the middle there, Bob, is the bidder who is awarded the contract is required to function. You have a number one there with nothing after it.
Okay.
So I don't know, if you deleted that,
Middle
we
of
didn't
21.
renumber those, that's all.
That's what I saw.
It makes no difference.
The, yeah, the one there looks like a typo, but then,
All the price.
okay, invoices, this is the number 2 item below the number 1 that
Mhm.
doesn't have any text. Invoices shall be provided within 30 days of providing goods or services to the district or according to the terms of the executed contract.
Mhm.
KVHD will pay invoices within 7 days upon approval of the hospital board at the monthly building and planning meeting held the last Tuesday of the month. I'm not sure what that is saying, and
Well, what it's saying is that this construction manager, let's just say that we hire a firm and they invoice us for providing the management services. Is basically the same.
Okay.
My understanding.
so sometimes we'll have to change the date of our building and planning meeting, so you know,
Well,
I don't think it'd be
but
good
I
to
can,
put that kind of detail in this.
I can change it to 14 days
To once a
after.
month or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, to once a month, within 14 days after building them, the meeting.
And is our accounting group set up to be able to actually move that quickly? Because
Yes,
sometimes it doesn't seem like they
Yeah.
are.
Well, let's put it this way, Dave has been working with myself and with our accounting department, and that is that, yes, they are supposed to pay invoices that are approved at this meeting within 7, cutting the checks within 7 days of this meeting.
Of this meeting.
Yeah,
It's
because,
very large request. We have to do some shuffling of funds.
yes, and in fact, Dave and I were talking about from the invoices, if they all get approved today, is more money than she has in the bank to pay. But in talking with Dave, he said, I have some monies which are coming due or whatever that is,
They're retiring.
They'll be
the
coming in.
first of February. And he says, I'm gonna pull a chunk out and give it to her because then she'll have enough to cover the invoices from today.
Okay.
So this is just like, almost like their salary as it's earned
Yes,
is what. they're
that's
talking
basically what it's talking about.
Okay.
That they can bill, basically they can bill each month for services provided.
And Tim, you're good with the performance of this, the way that's worded, that 7 days is.
I would like to see more in there just because I
We'll put
know
more.
that issue.
Okay.
We'll make it like
2 weeks or
We
something.
can make it 14 or 3 weeks, or, it's not important at this point, but
They
it
just wanna
would be
know they're-
important if it's going out it's going out.
Right.
Well,
Yes,
Catherine will have the checkbook too.
and we can review it
7
one
days,
last
good.
time before we do send it out.
And I'd like more than 7 days because there's a lot that can happen.
Sure.
Holiday, weekend.
Yeah, I was just going on what Dave and I had discussed.
Better not to rope
We
yourself.
can,
into something
we
you
can
like.
make it a lot more broad than,
Yeah.
absolutely. Anything else?
I have another note here, but it's just a little yellow mark. And it's been
Gotcha.
a few days since I made it, so I can't remember what that one is about.
Notes are for, which
All
number?
right.
It was on
Well,
page
if you think about it,
23.
If you bullet point in a weird spot, if you think about it, shoot it
Okay.
to Heidi and she'll get it.
The non-performance, this was a non-performance of bidder contractor. Number 2, the first bullet point. Failure to meet and maintain all qualifications required in this RFP. I'm not sure why I marked that.
Well, I guess the question is, if they didn't meet the requirements, then we shouldn't be considering them for the
Then
bid.
why,
Yeah.
then why did we
Yeah.
contract with them?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm trying to
Unless
take,
they lied to us.
I'm trying to take a document that I was sent and trying to make it fit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it takes a few tries.
Well, right now, we're not approving this document right now.
No, it was just a draft for review.
Anyway, we're getting there.
Yeah, we're
That
good.
was the last one.
And I'll make some corrections and we can put it back in the package next month and.
Great.
And I just wanted to have some fun because on licensing and insurance, I'm convinced you guys don't like to start with the number one on anything.
That's right.
It starts with number two.
It's kind of like we don't have bed 13 even.
So yeah, we need to read.
Yeah.
Go to
Look at-
contract type. Now it starts at number 3.
Look at numbering. You know, let's put it this way, Word is not my favorite document. I don't like working in Word. I'll just look at all numbers. How about that?
Well, on page 24, you got a 5 and there was nothing.
And
I guess that's.
and I get frustrated when I try and change them and it won't change. And,
Yeah.
well, when she gets back, yes.
Okay.
Doesn't she have a laptop?
Now, and any other questions on the RFP before we move on?
Well, yeah, everything that's all strike through, that's gonna be removed from the
Yeah,
final.
yeah, what I did is if it's to be removed, I
Strike
put
through.
the strike throughs.
The underlines and stuff.
Showing us what the changes.
Yeah. Right, absolutely. So you can see what I changed from the last go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GMP was the guaranteed maximum price.
Yes.
Anything else? Catherine, any question?
I do. I have a question.
Go.
I tried not to, but, so where would be your recommendation for the first, okay, this is as far as we're gonna be able to go before we get so far in that, you know what I mean? Just what is our first step? When we see this happen, I mean, we're gonna have building, you know, the administration building done, people are gonna be moved, all that. And then what? We have empty spaces. Are we still, you know, what? Where do we-
Understood. Yeah, very valid question. Yeah, because, okay, we get that building done, we move billing and accounting, we move the girls from here down. You know, we have a new place to have meetings down there. You know, and let's just say the project doesn't happen. Well, the only space, well, we would have a couple spaces empty. The accounting house would be available for some other use. And the medical records right here would be available. I would like, let's
And
just,
this?
I would like to see, well, personally, if we have meeting space down there, I would like to see this gone and out of here and this area cleaned up in front of the hospital. But again, that would be a decision we would make, or we can use, the education only takes up about a third of this space.
Right.
And, but they use this room, I mean, they use this whole trailer because they hold education classes in here and in their smaller room. And down there, they will have a smaller room and then they'll have the bigger room next door. So they can fully function down there. Then this becomes not really necessary unless we want to just hang on to it just for.
Like
additional meeting space.
Airbnb or something, get some.
Yeah. You know, actually, you can actually see the mark in the floor where I took out the kitchen wall. And we could put the kitchen, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, well, it used to be a couple different offices too,
I remember how
so.
it used to work.
Right, yes.
Years ago
It's
before.
a
Yeah.
annex of calm words.
You know, and hopefully we can keep the skunks out from under. you.
So I mean, I'm just kind of curious because, I mean, we're talking big picture, lots of money,
Yes.
but when do we say, you know what, we'll do this and we'll wait and see what else happens? What can we do on our own to not interfere with the funds we're waiting for, breaking ground for doing some, you know, before the funds are allowed for us?
Well, the other key is we can't break ground or it affects.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so,
Yeah,
but,
so I can work on things that are separate projects such as the generator because it's under a whole separate permit number. You know, that's one reason I haven't pushed moving really fast on the administration building because I'm knowing that the rest of this is draggy.
yeah, well, don't say that you're dragging your feet on something.
I'm not.
Just saying.
But I haven't been concerned that it's taking the county so long to review the plan.
Right, no, I get it, but I just
Because-
kind of,
Yes.
I'm just kind of curious, where is our, you know, do we get rid of this and then the gazebo or big tent that we're getting, do we put that in this area? I mean, what is your,
Well, good question. So,
Thank you.
let's just say let's say we have approved plans. Phase one has the new drop off going in right here. That's the
Okay.
reason we needed to move these people out. So let's just say that the project is approved with HCI, but it is not funded with FEMA. We don't get the FEMA funds. We could pick and choose some portions of those drawings as long, we'd have to do a resubmittal for their approval, but we could at least do an appropriate drop off where people can pull up and come into the front of the hospital. That could be done. Mark had asked me, could we do the ER? Maybe. We might have enough funds to be able to pull off doing the ER. Understand that part of our phasing was to take half of acute care and make it ER so we can move the ER in order to gut and build it.
Right.
But as he and I discussed, what about if we're not going to be doing surgeries, could we move ER into the surgery space and just do the ER and not do all of this front building here? At some point we may have to do a pharmacy, but if medical records is moved down there, we could do our
You
new
could still put
pharmacy.
pharmacy in there.
So those are some things we could cherry pick out of the project.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And still
Even,
come up with something that's
especially if
much
we
more
didn't get the
operationally
FEMA
efficient.
funds. We could get an appropriate pharmacy. We could possibly get an appropriate ER.
Can we get money back from Greenbaugh?
The answer to that is no. In fact, if we have to resubmit and redesign sections of
We
the
can
plans,
pay
we would
them.
have to pay them some more money.
That's right.
But those are all options if this, and I'm trying to make sure I'm really answering your question. Because as to when, I think we should proceed with moving people down to the new building. Okay, we're getting there, we should be able to do it in a few months. I think that's appropriate. Plans being approved by OSHPD is one of our steps, but the bigger step is the funding. It's the FEMA. When are they going to make a decision on whether we're awarded? And then we made to make a decision at what point do we want to put the plans out to bid? It doesn't cost us anything to put them out to bid.
Would FEMA allow us to scale down the project, still use all of their money?
Probably not all of their money. Their money is based upon a complete evaluation of our drawings, exactly detailed out as to exactly what we're doing in all 9 phases. And the way the FEMA monies work is we pay for the work and we submit our receipts to FEMA and they reimburse us as we go
So
along.
would they reimburse at the downscale?
I'm sure we would have to request.
It would be less money, but we'd be spending a whole lot less.
There may be an issue of having to meet the objectives under which we applied for the grant.
We applied for building resilient infrastructure, so seismic
It's still
upgrade.
gonna be that, well, seismic.
Yeah.
What if you did emergency room, well, you needed shear panels in the one.
Well,
couple walls.
let's just say we got the FEMA money, but the bids came in too much for all the renovation. Could we come in and put in the seismic and stuff and still get the FEMA monies? I would say there's a shot at it, but it's not a given.
If we don't get the FEMA money, then we need to seriously evaluate what our mission is. Do we continue as a hospital? Does the ER become just a 24/7 urgent care?
No, I don't think it's gonna be anything that drastic. I think you're gonna continue to perform as a hospital. There's too many hospitals in the state that are in the same boat.
Okay.
That they're coming up with something. As a matter of fact, CHA
Do you
just,
think there'll be a bailout?
there will be.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, they don't want to close hospitals. And so, I just got a letter from CHA that they're putting together a workforce for the rural hospitals for seismic. And so forth, and to go back into the state with some proposals to carve us out of the big picture for everybody
Okay.
else. So I'll keep you apprised of
All
this one.
But what about the skilled nursing?
Skilled nursing is obviously not a part of this.
Right, I mean.
They're
and I
part of the
know it's-
NPC that we have got to do.
Right, but they're also part of the revenue that we're not bringing in. So I mean, do we look at changing that somehow?
We can lease it out.
It has to be part of the conversation.
Mental
I
health
think.
or
Oh, yeah.
something we
Do we
need to.
change its mission to to behavioral health.
Yeah.
I mean-
About that.
You know, I don't know how big
Yeah.
a deal that is, but
Well, I know if we lose our license as a sniff, it's heck, even trying to get it back.
Oh, yeah.
So it'd have to be sniff slash
That building is seismic.
something. No, I know it's seismic,
Yeah.
but it's not earning.
So you're
Or
saying
funds that we could use
36
for
beds
something.
rather than 76 or whatever,
I think,
skilled nursing, which is what we're about at.
Well, the question
it's
is that
not
you're right, you
meeting
can
the
scale it back
monies.
and then do
We
something else.
need the revenue.
Mark and I have talked about taking a portion of that and doing behavioral health or, you know,
Right.
on one wing.
One,
yeah,
Right,
right.
and
Yeah.
so forth, and
Some
leave
kind
the
of
rest of
carve
that
out.
stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Behavioral health, that sounds like it just fit me perfect.
Well, we are gonna name
Have a
the,
room for you, Gene, don't worry about it.
we're gonna name the wing after you.
As soon as you donate $10 million.
We'll put a plaque right over your bed.
Absolutely.
This wing donated by.
So I just wanna, even though we're talking about a lot of money, and I know that's what this committee and meeting is for, but man, I just keep going back to we need to bring in funds.
No, I know we've.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I know we've beat that to death.
You know, well, I agree with you. I mean, I think these are probably serious conversations we have to have going down the road. And we have talked about that in
We have
finance, because when we
finance,
look at the statistics and see the SNF numbers being down, I mean, it's concerning, but I think maybe that's part of this, maybe looking back at the strategic plan, because we're about the
Yeah.
3 years, right? That we've
Yes,
gone into.
we're working on some things right now.
So maybe that's like a whole nother discussion we need to have as
Oh,
a
yeah.
board, is from a
And
strategic
we're going to,
standpoint.
we talked about.
Well, that's if our plan A fails, we need to have
Have
a
a
serious
plan B.
discussion
Yeah.
about a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
What's here, what are we gonna continue to do or not do or whatever.
Yeah.
It seems like our best hope right today, that Tim was just talking about, is trying to get the state to build all of the rural hospitals and relax the requirements on the real big ones. They might give us enough to bail us completely out. They may give us $40 million.
So,
Yeah.
And then that would be something that,
Looking at the state of the budget of California under Newsom, I'm thinking that's a little bit of a long shot.
Gene, that's so optimistic of you. I'm just, that's great. Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Get get all the, I
You
know,
gotta do something,
I mean,
because
when,
I know.
it's
gotta
not gonna survive the way it is.
you know, so go with it.
Hey, forgive me, but what's in that air? You're being awful
Something
nice
Ross-
today.
Something Ross was. It's to calm me down.
It's from the dental office.
Jay's out of canister, that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
So we get more of those bait funds over there.
Any other questions on the RFP?
No.
All right.
I think
Okay.
for now, it's a good draft.
You got it. Item G, soils engineering.
Yes, so what, each year, we have soils engineering give us a change order, number 8. A waste treatment plant, just to give you in a nutshell for something that you may not know. Years ago, someone here in this community sued the hospital about polluting the groundwater. And not that they won, but the studies were done and requirements were set up to monitor what we're putting into this. And so I perform daily tests and my staff, daily tests. I pull samples weekly. They go to a lab, they go into a monthly report that goes to the State Water Board. But there is a quarterly report that is way past my abilities that's done by engineers. And it's a flow study of our waste stream as it heads towards the lake and testing for like 25 different metals and various things in those test wells. We have test wells scattered all down through the community here. And so this is simply each year we approve proceeding with having soils engineering. And by doing a change order, it's not like we have to go back out to bid, because I do have a copy of the last quarter's report if anybody wants to see what it looks like. It's 100 and some odd pages.
How much was the last contract?
It went up by, I had it in my head, I looked it up, and I want to say it went up by $2,000.
Okay, so it's not a big jump.
No.
But they've done us favors in the past, right?
Oh, soil engineering
Yeah.
is an awesome firm.
Right,
Yes.
right.
So
Do we have a motion for that?
It is an action.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
Make a
is a
motion, we
large dollar.
accept that.
Who,
You have a question?
who delivers those samples, the water samples?
They actually, okay.
They come up and
The,
get them
the
or?
monthly I take, the weekly and monthlies I take, from our treatment plant, but they come up with a crew. They have to put they have to pump 4 volumes of the well out, and then they pull the samples, and then they go to the testing lab and et cetera. So they pull all the samples and then they do the report.
Can transportation take those samples when they go?
They're too busy.
They go to Bakersfield though, right?
You gotta have a well baler, and you gotta have a whole bunch of stuff. They come up here with a trailer full of stuff.
I'm just talking about the samples that you deliver.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that Mark could get those runs.
Just
I
thanking.
take them down every Wednesday when I do runs for the hospital.
All right, then you go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, thank you, Ross.
Yeah.
Ms. Catherine, your vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mr. Park?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
All right, thank you. Item H, invoice review and approval.
I've got a question. I went all the way in the back on page 55. What is that exactly in? In the evaluation and correction.
Okay, so, yeah, so what we did, there is, okay, so. Remember when Michael came and gave us the evaluation for the non-structural performance category?
Mhm.
Which was due January 1st. This is the invoice for their services. For doing that study.
That's what he was telling us about the skilled nursing. It might need additional bracing,
Yes,
roofing.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, each of the buildings. The
When he
additional-
said, when he sat here, he sat in this chair and I sat there. He didn't look like it was worth 40,000 bucks.
We don't ever proceed without a signed contract, so the contract for the fees would, anyway.
Okay, that's.
No, if anybody's ever built a house, you know that the A&E fees will just eat you alive.
Yeah.
Motion to approve
Okay.
the remaining invoices.
I'll second the second, John. Yeah. Gene, do you have any questions for the vote?
I'll vote yes. No, I got no questions.
Okay, Ms. Catherine?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Let me, yes. Okay,
And as a follow comment, the amount of money being spent is gonna drop off drastically here because there'll probably be one more invoice from JTS and then everything's gonna kind of be on hold for a while.
They're kind of done.
Yeah, so, they're just finishing up some odds and ends until we can get all the equipment here. So you won't see as much money spent through the summer.
that's a good thing. But with that said, at 2:13, we're adjourned, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Take notice how quickly this meeting went.
Yeah, I was.